Okay, in this lesson right here, what we're going to be doing is taking a look at MySQL user accounts. So Logan, Mr. Take it away.
Okay, well, this is we're going to set up an account inside of MySQL that we're going to be connecting through with PHP. Basically, a special account for just the PHP scripts to connect to the database.
Now, why would you want to do something like this?
Okay, you have when you create an account in MySQL, you can set up different privileges. Like, are they allowed to view data? Are they allowed to create data? Are they allowed to create tables and so forth? So what we're going to do is only give it the ability to look at and work with data, and not allow it to mess with tables. Because at least in the next few VTMs, we shouldn't be working with tables from inside of PHP. So we don't need that functionality.
And when you say working with tables, you're talking about actually creating.
Yes, I'm
tables,
talking about creating
modifying.
databases, creating tables, stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, I just wanted to. Okay. So if we don't create a user account, or if we don't create this account, what happens?
You could connect just fine, like in the last video where we just simply opened up the MySQL monitor and it worked. That's because it was set up to allow localhost without any kind of password. You could do that through PHP. You could just give it a blank user account or give it localhost and then a blank password, and it would work fine. But this is just if you were actually working on someone's web server or a server that's already been set up. It's going to be you're going to have to log in with the username and password. So it'd be good just to show how this is created.
Right. So this kind of gets important so that you're not just leaving your database open for anyone to jump in there. Okay, so go ahead.
Okay, well first I'm going to have to actually start the MySQL server again. So let me switch over to my K drive. Here we go with the typing thing. Okay.
He hates to type, and I guess I can kind of yak for a minute as he changes his directory over to the MySQL folder, then into bin.
Use MySQL D.
I'll be the sports announcer. No, he's going in there with his flags for standalone as he starts up the MySQL D, and here it comes.
And with that open, we don't need this window open anymore.
So he's now closing the command window.
And I'm going to go ahead and start Apache as well. We're not actually going to be needing Apache in this lesson, but we'll need it in the next one. So go ahead, start Apache. It starts.
So he's now starting Apache.
Okay, so now I can load up one more command prompt and actually connect to MySQL through the MySQL monitor.
And he's now connecting.
K drive, MySQL, bin.
I know I'm annoying you.
MySQL. And again, you saw we didn't actually have to have any kind of login information. It just let us on. So we're going to actually be creating an account that you'll see in just a second. So I will use the database MySQL. This is basically MySQL's built-in database where it actually stores all its settings. It kind of makes sense. It actually stores all of its settings in a database.
Okay.
So first we can take a look at what's in here. This is going to, if we show the tables in here, we can see that they have a user table. So we can, let's go ahead and select everything in that user table and select star, again, yeah, talking and typing. Alright, so it has, you see you have a bunch of accounts, and here, let me see if I can find it.
For those of you that didn't see what he did, because he was going real fast, he did a select star from user.
So, yeah, select star from user, and notice
and he used a little special flag at
I
the end
used
as
the backslash capital G. This printed out every field on a new line. There's a lot of fields, and it would have wrapped pretty bad at this width. So I went ahead and just had to print each field on its own line. Now, a few of these in here, like this, like a localhost, no user required, no password required, that's what allows us to just load up the MySQL monitor and immediately lets us right in. We're going to actually set up a user account. So we're going to need to create one of these fields. And for that, we're going to use a regular MySQL insert to do that. So let me go ahead and start writing this out. This is basically going to be adding a new record to this, but we're going to specify more of this information. So I will use insert into user. And I'm going to specify what fields. Okay, now you see these are the privileges that these various users have, and setting this to Y or N, yes or no, will tell whether or not they're allowed to, like, say, create a table, drop a table, or do a select on a table. Now, instead of typing out a field for every single one of these, I'm actually going to only specify which ones I'm going to be adding data to. So that way I'll basically let all the rest of them default, and their default will be N for no. So first thing I'm going to do is specify what fields I want to insert data into. I'm going to be inserting into host, user, password, and I think the first 4 of these. So let's see, I'm going to be inserting into host and user and password. Yeah, it's got to be exciting watching this. Select.
So, Angie, how about that weather?
Oh, it's awful.
Actually, I love it. I love all the fog and the rain. It's starting to get cold. It's good stuff.
Yes, cold is good.
Yeah, cold is very good.
Insert priv.
Freezer in the house.
She just said it's like a freezer in the house. Yeah, I keep it cold, but Logan and I like it that way.
Update priv. Finally delete. Underscore priv.
So as Logan goes in and types all these long names out here for all of the different fields that he's going to be entering data into.
All right, those are the fields. Like Buzz just said, entering data into. Values. These are actually. This is what we're actually going to be putting into each of these. For host, we're going to use localhost again because we're just connecting off the local machine, and that will require double quotes.
And why does that require double quotes?
I didn't look at the exact type that's storing it as, but I would guess it'd probably be a char or a varchar. It's kind of like a string, so you're going to require quotes to put what you're going to be putting in that string. So, localhost. Okay, now we're going to put the actual name of this user. We'll just call it PHP because we're going to be using PHP scripts to connect to this user or this database. Okay, next you see, the next one is the password. See how they store it in all these weird numbers and letters? That's because it's actually storing the password encrypted. It doesn't store it in plain text, so you can't just look at the record and read it. But down here when we insert, we have to have MySQL encrypt it when it adds it. So we'll use password. Yeah, still have not mastered typing and talking. Password, and then what we want to encrypt into its password. Let's just put, say, foo. That's F00.
So you want to talk about functions real quick?
Yeah, this is the only function we're going to be using inside of MySQL. But yeah, this is just basically a function to encrypt a string.
So for those of you guys that are not aware of what this is, basically we're doing a call out to a section of code, if you will, inside of MySQL called password, and we're sending it, what'd you put in there, foo?
Foo, F00.
Okay. Yeah, so we're sending foo to it, and basically what the password function does is it then encrypts foo and sends back the actual encrypted data that's going to be replacing this function right here that'll actually get stored into the table.
Okay, so we've got the password. Now we just need to set up the privileges that we want this user to have. So we'll set select privilege, yes. Let's see. Insert privilege, update privilege, and kind of word wrapping here. I don't think there's any other way of showing this. So
no, that's okay.
It's going to be it's basically 4 Y's in quotes followed by commas, except for the last one. So there's the last Y, and that finishes off that.
And do you want to talk about those privileges real quick? Just walk over each one. I mean, I know they're pretty much self-explanatory.
Select priv, that's what I did when I pulled this data out. It's just basically allowing you to pull out records from the database. Insert privilege will let you add records to a table. So select is get records from a table. Insert is add records to a table. Update is once you've already got a record created, but you need to change one or more of the fields, you can use an update to basically change that one or update that one field. And delete is take out one record from a table.
Okay.
And after that, we've got create and drop. That's creating and dropping tables. We're not going to be doing that from code, at least not for a while yet. So we don't need that.
Okay, that's good enough. All right, so go for it.
We'll just add these and... Well, amazingly, I appear to have typed everything out correctly. So let me go back, rerun that select
And you can
again.
see that real quick before he runs the select again. You can see that the query was okay, that one row has been affected, and MySQL will also return back to how long that took to do.
That's actually very useful when you start making like really complicated selects and going in there. You can see if it's going to take a long time.
Absolutely.
So you start playing how the performance is going to be. So let me run that select again, and there we go. That's that user we just created. And you see. It's expecting to be connecting from localhost. It's called PHP, and remember we typed in password foo. That's what it actually that the password function returned.
Back. Yeah, that's right.
So that's what actually got sent to it.
So that means foo right there.
All right. Now, this is a user that's been created, but it needs let's see, the MySQL D server's already been loaded, and it doesn't yet recognize this information yet. You could either close the server down and restart it, or you could simply flush privileges, and that will reload the user information.
Sounds like some toilet bowl action.
Yep. Privilege. And this doesn't have to be capitalized. No, it wouldn't have to be capitalized. Flush privileges. There, now it's got that user information. So what I'm going to do now is exit out of this, the user we're on now, the default one, and make sure I can actually log in as that PHP account to make sure it's up and running.
That sounds good.
So let me just type exit, and now I'll load MySQL again, except this time with -u. This time we're telling MySQL, okay, we're going to be using a specific user, that PHP user we created. -p tells it to ask us for a password. So go ahead and hit enter. So we type foo f00, and it let us in. So we now have that PHP account has been created, and it's working.
Very, very nice.
So that about wraps us up. We've created an extra user.
Okay, and of course this could be used on I guess a grander scale if you were going to go in and set up a particular database for a company that's got different sets of privileges based off of different users on where certain people could look at certain things, et cetera, et cetera. So you could take this very simple example that Logan just gave you guys and expand upon it with creating a whole bunch of users, et cetera. Okay?
Right, like if one person was in charge of updating, all they had to do was update or add stuff, you could give them just privileges on that.
Absolutely. Okay, so with this out of the way, this is pretty much going to conclude this lesson here?
Yep.
Okay. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.